cats are skittish. So I want to like bow down at your altar and everything. But first, let's just do the cat, get it out of
Okay.
the way, and then we can
All
talk.
right.
So,
Hold.
Heavy Petting with Cheri Hardman, where comedians discuss their pets and their love lives. Heavy Petting.
welcome to Heavy Petting with Cheri Hardman. Today's guest is Carole Montgomery. Hello, Carole. How are you today?
Good. Lil is about to leave, but she says hi, and now she's gone. Wow. Okay. Well, at least we got her in. We got Lil in.
It was a
And
cameo. It was a
It
little
was a
cameo
cameo.
appearance.
She's an interesting cat because I've cat sit for her before. She does like to be held, but she's very moody right now. She misses her mom a lot, so
Right.
she usually is way more friendlier with me here, but she's kind of like very distant. Like I don't know why my mother's not here. So
Right.
cats.
Right. So this
And
is
my-
your This is your daughter's cat.
No, this is a friend of mine who I'm
Oh,
I'm
okay.
cat sitting. My son has a cat who makes Lil look like she's the greatest, most friendliest cat in the world. When I go to my son's apartment to see, and she hears me because I have a loud, obnoxious voice. She disappears. She looks at me and then she's gone. So I never get to see her at all. So that's my grand kitty, as I like to say.
Okay, got it. So you're at a friend's house now. So
Yeah.
are you at a friend's house or is the cat at your house?
No, I'm at a friend's apartment here in New York City, and so it's I in my illustrious life I've dog sit and I've cat sit before, and most of the time they prefer that you're there at their place.
Right.
But your cats are different. Cats you have to come to their place. Dogs don't care, as long as you
Right.
feed them. That's
Yeah.
all they care about.
That's so true. So you don't have pets of your own? Have you in the past?
Yeah. When my son was growing up, I was working in Las Vegas for 10 years, and so we had a big house, and we had 2 dogs, and we had 2 cats. But when we came back to New York City, we live in a 900 square foot apartment. So we gave all the animals away basically to friends because we couldn't do it anymore. I love having animals. So when my girlfriend said, "Do you mind cat sitting?" I'm like, "Are you crazy? I mean, why don't you go away a lot?" Like all the time. She's a comedian also. She was one of the girls that was in the special with me, Vanessa
okay.
Hollingshead.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another friend of mine who's a comedian, Vicky Koopman, and every so often she goes away and I take care of her dog. And what's funny is like during the pandemic, nobody went away, so I didn't get my animal fix.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge animal fan. And by the way, I apologize if you'll hear sirens because it's so interesting. I live in a back apartment in New York City, so we hear nothing. We hear nothing.
Oh.
And she's off in like the side, and excuse me. So the first night I was here, the garbage people were outside, and it was so noisy. It was like it was if they were right underneath the apartment, and she's like on the 8th floor. So I apologize. It's New York City.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So one last pet question.
Yes, of course.
If Lil could write a review of you as a pet owner, what would she say? As a pet sitter. Sorry, a pet sitter.
She would say that I spoil her rotten, and I give her lots of snugs. And sometimes she's like, I don't want to be bothered, but she's a, cats are different than dogs. With dogs, you have to pay attention to them all the time. I go, to pick up some groceries, and I come back, and she's nowhere to be found. She's like, you're gone. I'm gonna hang out.
That's true. Dogs are a little needy.
Yeah. Dogs are very needy.
And then that's kind of guilt-inducing, actually. It's like,
Absolutely.
I should be doing something with this dog. It's like, I just want to watch TV.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. When I lived in Vegas, so we lived in it. We had bought a house, and I was in a show called Crazy Girls, and then a show called Midnight Fantasy. And I would come home around the same time every night. And my husband said that the dogs knew the time when I was coming home because they would just sit there and wait by the doggy door to hear the garage door open. It was so bizarre. And they were like, "Where have you been? We've been with this guy. Where have you been? You're the one that takes care of us." So, I love both of them. I love all animals. If it was up to me, I'd have a farm.
Right. Me too.
Do you have pets?
Yes, I have 3 dogs and 2 cats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's probably why I'm rubbing my eyes right now. It's like there's fur everywhere, but
yeah, that's probably why I started choking. Is probably because I held her and
it does do that. Yeah. Oh well, we love it. So, like I said, let me explain to the people who don't know who you are. Carole Montgomery is the creator of Funny Women of a Certain Age. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
I was so worried I was going to say the wrong word or something.
Oh, no.
Has there been just the 2?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 specials. I watched them on Showtime again last night. It said rewatch. I mean, I really have watched them more than once. And I just want to tell you, I'm going to fangirl out now. Oh God, now I feel like that weird, I'm going to cry thing. That's so dumb. The first time I watched the first one, I thought, I'm fairly new to comedy. I'm in 5-6 years, and came in ball busters, and then just kind of stalled. And I realized, at this point, I'm at, the guys, they don't want to go travel with an old lady. So I'm always feeling like I'm kind of getting left out,
right?
Yeah. And I'm always trying to figure out, how do I do my own thing? And then I saw your special. I'm like, see, there is a place for women like me. We can, and it's everybody was freaking hilarious.
Thank you.
Don't discount all of us who are a little bit older, because we have there's lots to say. And so not only was it a funny, just special, but it meant to me a lot as a woman to see it. So I just I'm excited that I'm able to tell you that.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. And let me just say, we're in a business. Now, I started when I was very young. I started in my 20s. I've been doing stand-up for over 40 years. It is a young person's game. Mm-hmm. It really is. It just is. The going out to bars, hanging out and drinking. The guys still, when I do, go to clubs, and they're like, "Hey, come sit and have a drink with me." And I'm like, "Guys, I'm going to sleep, but I could drink you under the table," and they know that. Do you know what I mean? So,
right.
But you have to learn to protect yourself and not worry about who's doing what around you, because, especially if you start later in life also, because it is we're in bars every night. People think, oh, it's such a glamorous night. It is not glamorous.
Right.
Most comedy clubs, where do you live?
Seattle area.
Okay, I'm sure that most of the clubs in Seattle are the same thing, where they're in the basement of a restaurant or a bar, and you're out for hours. You're out till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It's not safe for a woman. That's number one, and number two, I literally say to people now, do not give me late spots, because I'm not showing up. I used to work at a club. I still work there, but the guy that was booking me at the Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and he literally, what he would do is he'd book everybody, the same comics for the whole weekend. And so he goes, "All right, I've given you all the spots, Friday this show, and Saturday the midnight show." And I said, "Why would you put me on the midnight show? Nobody cares what I'm saying. Nobody cares. Plus, I don't want to be there at midnight and deal with the children." So it's Funny Women of a Certain Age was an important moment, because it made people realize, oh, wait a minute, just because you're older doesn't mean you can't be funny. You just have to find us in a different setting. We're starting to do afternoon shows now.
Right. Oh,
you know what I mean? I'm doing a matinee. We're doing a matinee in July at a theater. We're doing brunch shows at the Stand in New York, because first of all, it's great, but there are people there. They're eating, they're drinking. It's exactly doing comedy at night, except you're done at 5:30.
And most old people love that.
Yes, and there is an audience. I used to say, I'm 63 now, And I saw the writing on the wall when I turned 50. I was like, oh, because I was a road dog
Mm-hmm.
for years. I was gone 3 weeks every month, gone, just away doing stuff. And I saw the writing on the wall where it was like, oh, okay, the comedy clubs are not going to be where I'm going to succeed anymore, because they wanted the younger and the hipper and who had, the influencers now and the TikTok, because comedy clubs, just like rock clubs, are there to make money. The more people that come into their club and spend money on alcohol, they don't care about the show. They really don't. I mean, I'm sure there'll be club owners going, well, that's not true. You don't. You don't. You care about getting the audiences in, getting them out, make sure they drink a lot of alcohol. In New York City especially, drinks are expensive.
Yeah.
You're talking about you get a glass of wine, it's $15.
Yeah.
When they've paid maybe $10 for the bottle of wine. So I appreciate that you like the specials, because, like I said, there is a place for older women. There's a place for older men too, but men don't have to worry about older men. Have the same issues where it's late and they don't want to be out drinking, but they don't have the problem of safety.
Right.
leaving a club
Going to
at
your
1 o'clock.
car at 1 and 2 in the morning, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I know. I did a private birthday party for a 70-year-old woman this last weekend. I was home taking off my bra at 8:30. I was so thrilled.
Right.
Yeah.
But like on the matinee we're doing a 2 p.m. matinee. So one of the girls, we're driving down from the city. We'll leave here around 11. We'll get there around 1. We'll do the show. The show will be over by 4 tops.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be home by 6. And we're like, this is great. I mean, why? I would much rather, that's probably the next thing I'm going to do, is just book live shows in the afternoon.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Right.
why not? I would suggest that to you. I'm sure there are clubs in Seattle that you can say to them, why don't we just do an afternoon show? There's a different type of audience that's going to come to an afternoon show, and they have disposable income.
Right.
Young people, they don't have that disposable income. The
Right.
old people are the ones that be like, yeah, I used to say this when I was in my 30s and 40s. The people who've got the money are the people who are older.
Mm-hmm. Right. I've always wondered why they pander to the young people when they don't have a
pot to piss in.
That's what I was going to say, but I don't. Yeah. So.
Yeah. They don't, and they'll go. Old people will go out. It's an event for them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they go out, especially when you go into the city, because you have to pay for parking. You have to pay. You don't have to pay for a sitter anymore because your children are probably grown. But you're paying for parking. You're doing the. It's an experience. That's one of the reasons why matinees on Broadway do so well.
Right.
Because people are like, I can go see a show. I can be home and have dinner in my own house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any plans to take that out, or are you just happy having it there in New York and staying early? Like, any plans to take that show out on the road or anything like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're in the process, everything, the pandemic, of course, as you know, just everything stopped. Basically, we were supposed to be on a major tour now. Right now, we were, you know what I mean? Like, I tell people, I said the pandemic was horrible for all of us. We lost, so many people lost their, people to the disease and all this stuff. And we all had issues with, how it stopped. But in my case, what happened was we literally did the Today Show the Friday before the show was supposed to air. Saturday night, the second special airs. Monday, the governor of New York goes, we're locking down. So it was like, it's done. We're done. Everything that we were supposed to do was over. And of course, it's not as horrible as losing a family member. I'm not trying to put it at the same.
No.
If people are listening going, oh, how dare she? No, I'm not equating that. But in your, that was my baby. That really was. And
Right.
So now we're rebuilding. And so a bunch of the shows that we were supposed to do, that got canceled, like the matinee show, and there's another show in Connecticut that we're doing. These are all shows that we were supposed to be doing anyway, but they got postponed for another year. And I literally just got off with the people that are producing the actual tour, and that looks like it's going to become like a huge thing in 2022. Because what happens is the all the theaters, like the major theaters, because we're going into like really big 1,500 seat theaters, all the major theaters, everything, all of their shows stop. So we're a new show. So even though we were booked, we're at the bottom. Right. So they have to bring in Book of Mormon first and Hamilton first. And so that's why everyone's like, well, it's, the pandemic is, you can go back to work. I said, yeah, but theaters book. I wouldn't be surprised. The tour will probably take off. I mean, we'll start in 2022, but we'll probably really be up and running in 2024.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So people don't realize it's years in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a step back, and we took a step backwards because of the pandemic.
All right. Well, I'm glad that things are opening up again, and eventually we'll all get back to where we want to be,
Yeah. It'd be nice. It'd be nice. I mean, it's funny because, I live in New York City. And so when it happened, it like people left in droves. There was nobody on the streets. And if you've ever been to New York City, that's a phenomenon. To be walking in New York, we could walk down the street. There were no cars. It was like a zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, I kind of liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many people now. And the tourists haven't even come back yet. Because this is just everybody's coming back, the regular people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think, how is Seattle? How is it over there?
It was pretty much the same. It just everything died, like totally died. Things are coming back, but more like, I live in Tacoma, so we're like south of Seattle. Tacoma's kind of, we're a little grittier than Seattle, kind of. So like there was people doing shows on the down low and stuff through the whole thing, kind of.
Wow.
That,
wow.
But so Tacoma's opened up more than Seattle. Like I think the Tacoma clubs opened up before the Seattle ones did. So, but like our open mics and stuff are, half of them aren't still running and stuff. But life's kind of getting back to normal.
That's good. That's good.
But not quite. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So I would like to talk now about heavy petting of the human variety. I always have to stop and give a disclaimer because some of the young people that I've had on the show had no idea what heavy petting meant. So I always have to define. Back in the day, heavy petting was a term for making out or fondling, third base, whatever you want to call it.
But it wasn't a home. Yeah, but wasn't a home run.
Right.
Right.
But for the purposes of this show, heavy petting could be anything to do with dating, relationships, sex, however you want to go, any kind of little story that you have that is about one of those topics, I would love to hear.
Okay. Well, we could. I've told the story of me losing my virginity many times, so I think I'll go with that.
Okay.
I was 16 years old. And I was dating the captain of the football team, and I was a cheerleader because don't hold that against me. He was a year older than me, 2 years older than me. And, when you're at that age and you want to have sex, especially guys, he always wanted to, it was like we'd be heavy petting and getting really hot and heavy. And I was like, no. I didn't even know what I was knowing about because I didn't really. My whole sexual education was my father was a gym teacher and he brought me home a pamphlet and said, read this. So there was no like, oh, you fall in love and the penis does this and nothing. Zippo, So we'd have these like really heavy duty makeout sessions or heavy petting. And he kept going, come on. And I'm like, no. And then one day, I think it was around the time I was about to turn 16 that I went, okay. And I think he didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? Like he was like, what? What? So I actually lost my virginity the night of my Sweet 16 party. I had an all-girl Sweet 16 party. Don't ask me why. I just did. I had on this beautiful emerald green dress that was a long dress. Everyone had to be fancy. I don't know where. If you know anything about me, and I am the most least girly girl you'll ever meet. So I don't even know where this whole thing of like everybody has to dress fancy and we're all dressing nice and no men, no boys. It was like the stupidest thing. So I guess that he must have picked me up because he had a car. I'm not really sure how we ended up back in my parents' house where I lived. We lived, I shared a room with my sister. I don't even know where the hell she was. But I lost my virginity with basically my head, my gown, my ball gown over my head. On my teenage bed, and it was, and of course it was over before it started, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm picturing, for some reason, I know you're not this old because you're just same age as me basically. I pictured a hoop skirt for some reason. Like that whole no.
It could have been a hoop skirt, but it really was. I remember going, like, I think a lot of women, when you lose your virginity when you're young, go, was that it?
Right.
Did you were you inside? I mean, what, but yeah, so that was my big losing my virginity.
Well, that's good. You ever talk to that guy these days?
No. He was an abusive boy. He was an abusive boyfriend. So yeah. So and he's dead now. So that's even better. So karma's a bitch, huh? You take 2 seconds to have sex with me and you die. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I haven't. He was a stalker and he was a horrible human being. So it ended up being better that he died.
Good riddance. All right. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten on your naked body?
On my naked body? My tits. Nice tits. You see, what's funny is back in the day when they were up, everyone talked about my tits. Like all the comics were like, oh my God, Carole Montgomery. And like now it's like, no, they're not what they were, boys. Do you know what I mean? But I know because comics who are, veteran comics that I work with always go, we always wanted to see what your tits look like. I was like, well, you don't want to see them now.
I know they say that in the past tense. How rude.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I'm all over the internet. CaroleMontgomery.com. We're reworking a new website, so it'll, that'll be premiering soon. Funny Women of a Certain Age also is on. You can find it at funnywomenofaccertainage.com, and I'm all over the internet. Like Twitter is at National Mom, Instagram is at Carole Montgomery Comic, Facebook, just Google me. But here's the thing: I'm not doing TikTok, and I'm not doing Clubhouse. I'm done. I don't know if you're on either of those, but I just can't.
I like TikTok. I got to give a little endorsement for TikTok just because, just like, how like when you go through your Facebook feed, you find yourself swearing at everybody and hating people that you previously liked.
Right.
TikTok is a feel-good space.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of reflects what kind of person you are by what you like.
Right.
And so it's like I have a really good experience on there. Like if I just want to chill and watch some happiness, I go to TikTok for a few minutes.
Oh, that's interesting. I know how important social media is, and it really is as a comedian. But, remember that in my case, and I'm not saying, I get so many of my friends are on TikTok, but in my case, besides handling, there you go, there's some cat hair. Besides handling, the social media, I'm also, doing all the stuff for Funny Women. So, and when both of the specials, I was the executive producer, so that everything lands on me. So to have one more thing, my head would fuck it. Yeah, I mean, so I can't even fathom. Maybe someday, like it was interesting before the pandemic, my husband was like, you really need to get an assistant, Carole, because you're forgetting things now because I'm doing everything. So now that we're starting to come back up, maybe I will do that. I will hire somebody just to do my social media. Then I don't have to. Then they just go, just do a video or do something, and I'll post it. And because there's just too much stuff to do at this point.
Right. I hear you. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm really happy.
This was great.
I'm really happy that you came on. I just been excited about this all week. So.
Oh, thank you. This was so nice and so fast. This is in and out. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. It's like, but you can only be charming for so long, right?
I know the feeling. I do. I know the feeling. Well, thank you. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to end this because that's what happens when you hit the end button. So
okay.
Thanks again. And have a good evening. All right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Heavy petting. Heavy petting.
I'm seeing that. Yeah, weird.